Hello YouTube! We're going to do a video today on how to install the fan on a KTM 530 excr. You're looking at a picture of the kit. What you get exactly, I just opened the box straight from KTM. You can see there, original KTM part. And in here you get the wiring harness, you get the fan itself, little plastic brushless fan, get the mounting bracket, and the assorted parts. There's a thermo switch in there, fuse, gasket, a couple of screws, and 3 pop rivets. So we're going to take our bike apart and put that together. Okay, now I've stepped ahead here a bit. I've taken off the gas tank, the shrouds, and the seat, and we're down to the point where we're going to drain the coolant from the radiator, because we have to install the bracket on this side of it, and the pop rivets go on this side as well, and I think there's another one over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is drain the coolant out of here. Now, if you're not familiar with draining the coolant, the very first thing you should do is open the cap, take it off, and put it back on. Now you're doing that so that you can pop any pressure that's in there. Now this is ice cold. If it's even warm, don't do this, okay? So ice cold only, see? Because it'll shoot coolant at you. And remember, I'm running Evans waterless coolant, which is kind of expensive, so I'm going to try and catch all of that and put it back in there and reuse it, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's not very old. So you pop the cap, let the pressure out, and now it's like putting your finger on top of a straw. And down here on the side, I'm going to go to the water pump, and I'm going to remove this bottom bolt right here, and this becomes the drain for the coolant. So I'm going to put a nice clean container underneath here and catch all of that coolant. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew this bolt, and the coolant's going to come out. Notice my container is an old water bottle, and since I have Evans and it doesn't mix with water, I've dried it out thoroughly. Nothing's coming out. Now you'll see, once I pop the radiator cap, there she comes. And I can actually control the flow by turning off the radiator cap. And that's how you drain the coolant. Okay, so I'm going to undo the clamp at the top of the radiator over here, and I'm going to take the bottom clamp off of the radiator down there. So I'm going to press this clip and pull it out of there. Come around this way. It exposes these 2 holes right here, and inside of those holes there's 2 small bolts that go through some grommets. I've taken them out already because they're too hard to see when they're inside of the radiator. So that should be it. And then this whole unit is going to slip right off. I left my bottom hose connected because it's easier to get some leverage on it to slide it off. So I'm going to pop that off, and that's it for the radiator removal. Okay, so the first step in assembling the fan is we have the bracket and we have the fan. The directions, being translated from Italian to English, aren't very good. So I've taken some time to figure this out, and the way the fan actually goes into this bracket is not on top but underneath, like this. So you take the bracket, there's the fan, you put the bracket on top of the fan like so, and then you're going to take 3 Phillips head screws and put them through here, and they're self-tapping into the plastic. So we're going to tighten those on there, and that'll be the first step in the fan. So here's the assembled fan on the bracket. Notice the 3 screws in there, and this is going to fit over the top of the radiator. Clip it on both sides around here, or clip it over both sides, I should say. And see, it lines up with the hole, the second hole down, even with the main mounting bracket hole. And then there's another hole here, and same thing on the other side, one more hole there, the second one down. That's how it's going to fit on the back of the radiator itself. Now, they provide pop rivets, which are going to go into here and hold this assembly on there. In the future, if the fan burns out, you'll be able to undo these 3 screws and slide the whole assembly out in this direction. Make sure that your wire is pointed towards the inside, because the frame is on this side and there's a plug that's provided on the frame. It's a dummy plug that's sitting there right now, but it's actually for the radiator. Okay, so I've got my rivet gun. I've put the appropriate sized rivet channel holder, and I'm going to poke it in there. There's a fin in the way, but it's just the other side of it. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm just going to bend it with the rivet to kind of push it out of the way flush. And I'm going to take my rivet gun, give it a good squeeze until it snaps off, and it should look like that, see? Okay, so we're going to remove this factory plug that comes on the radiator. You're probably wondering what this is. If you look at my Never Overheat Again video, this is part of a block-off kit for getting rid of the thermostat. So this is from Samco Sports. It's just replaces the little thermostat tee. So anyhow, you're going to undo this here, this little plug, take it right out, and you're going to put in the new thermostatic plug, the brand new washer. Now, even though everything else on the bike is metric practically, this is 7/8 of an inch. So you need a deep well 7/8 of an inch, and you're going to torque it to 14.75 pound-feet of torque, and or 20 Newton meters. And just put it in there and fasten it down tightly. So when you look underneath the gas tank, you'll see this little wire just dangling right there. And this is actually the fan connect, and it's just kind of tucked in here next to the coil, and it's going to match the plug on the opposite side here. This is the harness that you get. I should put this on the floor so you can see it. This is the harness that you get. This end goes to the thermo switch. Comes with a built-in inline fuse. The fuse is already in there. I just opened it so you could see it. 1/2 goes to the open connector. This one here, goes to the open connector underneath the gas tank, and this one will actually hook on to the wire going to the fan. This little square one. See, it's more square than the other one. It has these 2 little clips on the side. So we're going to take this guy and plug it right in there, and then we're ready to run the wire to the fan after we put the radiator back on. So when you're reassembling the parts for the radiator, make sure that you drop in a washer beforehand, before you put the grommet in. They actually sit inside of the pocket, and then you take your grommet, put your grommet on top. Okay, so what I did was I slipped the little black grommets back into the radiator, and then the hole here slips over the nubs on the frame. And I lined up, I put the bottom one on first, then the top one, and the spout that goes into the frame for the radiator return or feeder, whatever the case may be. And now I'm going to tighten this. I'm going to put these screws and washers back into these holes, holding everything up tight, and it'll all be back together as far as bolting the radiator to the bike, and then we'll work on the electrical, which is sitting there right now. Okay, so here we are. This is the end result. I've taken all these wires and the fuse right here. There's the plugs. I just put a zip tie around everything just to hold them tightly into the center of the bike and out of the way. And you can see the radiator wire is routed into there. And then on my bike I have to push this cable back to get the tank to seat over this little bobbin here to hold it in place. And I zip tied it to the spark plug wire cable. Comes down the back and just leaves a little bit of slack right into here. And all of that is behind the radiator shroud, so you won't even see most of it but this part down here. And that's the completed fan installation. Okay, just a few last minute reminders before we start putting the gas tank and seat and stuff back on. Don't forget to torque that bolt at the bottom, 7.38 foot-pounds or 10 Newton meters. Make sure that you've got that on there or your coolant's going to run out. And don't forget to put your coolant back in. Torque this down here, coolant, make sure all your wires are tidied up, and you should be good to go.